we're going to go ahead and start this tutorial about how to get these models in the game, convert them to gems, all that good stuff. We're going to start with a tree that I've been using. It needs to be color matched anyway, so this will give me the opportunity to do so while doing a tutorial for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to first get rid of our background here. So let's copy this layer. Let's paste it there. We can get rid of that. We can go ahead and hide that layer. Easiest way to do this, go ahead and grab your color swatch here. And as you see, it's keeping everything on the inside of the cutout. So we'll go ahead and delete. Bam. Alright. We want to keep that layer. So now we can hide that layer and we can go down here to this layer. Go ahead and go to, what you do is you go to select, I believe. Nope, it's going to be an image. I'm sorry, image. You're going to go down to adjustments, match color. We're going to be using the needles high. It's Rockstar's the best we can get to their color. So let's go ahead and apply that there. And the reason we went ahead and cut out those is because if you notice here, if we zoom in, see how it's degraded our branches because of the color matching. That's what we made this layer here for. Boom. And it comes back in and fixes all that for us. So now what we can do is we can flatten that. And then when they put their alpha channel back over top, there you go. So color matching is done on that easy, that quick, that simple. So we can go ahead and save this. DTX5 is what you want to use. So we can actually go ahead and save that bad boy. And all it's going to do is it's going to save over the current DDS file that we've got. If it don't freeze up and crash on me. Okay. So now that we've got that, we can go into 3ds. Now, excuse me, Autodesk always does take a long time to load up. Fortunately, that's just 3ds Max for you. But I like it better than Blender. I'm not a very big fan of Blender. And I mean, there's multiple reasons. People will argue with you all day long that Blender is just as good, if not better. I mean, that is false. There's a reason it's free, people. You get what you pay for. And Blender, you're not getting it. You get what you pay for, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and come in here. We're going to go import because we've already had this model put in. So we're just going to grab the ODR, select that folder. Go ahead and load it up in here, and it looks kind of dark. That is okay. Kind of expected that after we done the color change. But there you can see there. Okay. She's already textured for us, but I'll give you a rundown of how I do the textures. Because with vegetation, just like with anything else, there's a certain way to set up the textures. And this here, if you go to activate, you go to view, show statistics, this will show you the total polygons at high. And I'm not even sure. Let's look at our hierarchy here. I don't even think I've done high, medium, and low for this. I think I've just done a high. So at high, we're sitting at 9,360 polygons, which is not bad at all. At all. But I guess real quick, I can show you how I do LODs. I do not do them in 3ds Max. I do not do them in Blender. What I do is I take, so this right here, I would do File, Export, Export, and see, I didn't do the LODs with this, so that was my fault, but it was for testing purposes. Let's call it _1. Okay, so then we go from 3ds Max into Instalod. This is a very useful application. It is free. It does take quite some time to be able to get a hold of it. But if you're into this, this is definitely something you want to look into. Because it just makes stuff so much easier. So we're just going to go to File, New Profile. You don't have to name it anything special. Okay, so for here you want to do Add New Entry, and we'll call this LOD1. And then New Entry, and we'll call this LOD2. And then we'll just go back up here and we'll rename this to LOD0. Okay. So at LOD0, you always want it to use 100% of what you got. So we want our high to use 9,360 polygons. At LOD1, we're good with 50%. So it'll use 50% of that 9,360. And then at our LOD2, we want to go ahead and just chalk this down to 25%. So it'll use 25% of that 9,360, and then all you do is you click Start, and it does everything for you. Boom, that easy. So we're using the 9,360 at the high LOD. LOD1, we're using 4,647, and LOD2, you're only using 2,228, or 2,284, I'm sorry. Polygons. So pretty good optimization there. And then you come through here, new folder, and same deal, EWR _fur _tree. And this is just to keep things from getting all wonky on you and stuff going all over the place. And the way 3ds Max works with Instalod, you're going to want to export these one at a time and then import them one at a time. So you go to, you don't want to do export scene, you want to do LOD0, so you want to do File, Export Selection. You want to go into that fur tree _1 _high, save, and come down here to LOD1, File, Export Selection. This will be our medium, so we'll name that medium, and this will be our low. My dog's still snoring up a storm in behind me. This will be our low. Okay. Yes, let's proceed. Then we can go back inside 3ds Max, and in layman's terms, we can actually just get rid of this. Let me see here. This should be normal diff spec for bark. No, it's wood stick. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure of that. So, in theory, we can delete this because we're not going to need it. File, import, desktop. You want to look for that folder we just created, which is going to be right here, fur tree. High, import. And this will be able to show you the texturing too as well. So, that'll be a plus. Unless it rendered them all as one. And that's kind of looking like what it did. No, it didn't. There we go. So, multi-sub object, okay. I wish it would have, let's do it like that. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's just do a copy, okay. Keep old material, sub-material, boom. Default. There should only been, I'm not even sure why that's showing up like that, but okay. We're going to get you a skim speed material as well. I don't know where you're coming from, but alright. Same thing, file, import. Then we want to do the medium. And then we want to do our low. Alright. So, we've got our, our high, our medium, and our low. Or high, medium, low. So in this case, we want to go ahead and do rename. We can just get rid of LOD0 because we don't need it. Rename LOD1, we don't need it. So our medium, LOD2 is our low, so we can get rid of that. We don't need it. Alright, so now we have our high, we have our medium, and we have our low. So within our medium, let's go ahead and go into here, go to parent. Everything should be pretty much set the way it needs to be. And then we want our low. This is so we can link them and texture them all at the same time, instead of having to bounce back and forth 100 different times. Multi-sub object, copy, keep open materials, sub. Okay. So now we can do our create object. We can go into models, model. I always put my model down first before I start any other type of edits. AWR underscore fur underscore tree underscore 1. Copy that. Oops. I forgot I'm having multiple of these fir trees later on down the road, so we need to tie them together with a one at least. Let's take them out of that group and put them into that group. And then we can delete this grouping. Okay, so this is the GIMS Evo group. That's what we just did. Then we can select all three of these. Let's get our game mesh modifier. Okay. And we'll go back. And then for high, we come over here, game mesh high, low, low, medium, medium. Alright, so now we got our high, low, and medium. Now, typically you could, I've already put this in game, and the bark and stuff, everything looks pretty smooth. Sometimes on your models, they'll be, you'll convert them through GIMS, and GIMS will mess them up. They'll be chunky, or they'll look like octagons or whatever. If that ever happens, over here on the modifier list, you can come down here and add a smoothing group. This tree doesn't need one, but you could add a smoothing group and come through here. Try not to go over 30 smoothing groups for the threshold, because it will kind of degrade your model a little bit, but not too bad. It really does help with the smoothing. Like, I could probably add a smoothing group here and get rid of some of that octagonal stuff, but you know what, let's just do it just so y'all could see. A lot of times you won't actually see it affect inside, but there you did. So you can see the smoothing it adds. So see how it's octagonal, or whatever you want to call it. You can tell the polygons are there. You can tell the faces. I can see a face there, there. I can see a face there, 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 there. And by faces, I mean you see this square here, a rectangle. You got your light side of the rectangle and the dark side of the rectangle. That's being made by a face here. So you got this half of the rectangle as a face, the lighter half. And then you got a face down here. It's also a face to that polygon, which is the darker half. So that's how these models are put together, by using faces. So let's just go ahead and add a smoothing group to these models. Drop them underneath the game mesh. I'm not sure if that really has anything to do with anything, but I've never not dropped them underneath the game mesh. Wow. I'm glad I looked at that, because check that out. Our low nor our medium is showing up. That is quite interesting. So let's do this. Our low nor our medium is showing up. So let's delete them and let's re-import them. That's interesting. Y'all seeing that? I'm not sure what is going on with that. Let's see here. Okay, well that would be what's going on with that. It didn't render our lower medium for whatever reason. So, come through here and let's try this again real quick. Let's do medium, low, default 100, 50, 25. Oh, okay, that's why. Alright, so now export selection. What is this? Our medium? Save. Yes. And file. Export selection. Below. Yes. Okay, so the reason they didn't show up is because when I came through here, I just had the main one highlighted. You got to have these visible or it doesn't know what that you're trying to extract. So they got to be visible. So now we can go back into here. Import our low. There you go. And then we can import our medium. Alright. Underscore medium. Underscore medium. Underscore low. Now I'll have to come back through here, and unfortunately, add our game mesh modifiers since we had to take them out. Alright, so now we got our low. So let's go ahead and hide our medium. Low, we don't need to worry about adding a smoothing group to, and our medium, probably won't add a smoothing group to it neither. So just our high needed that smoothing group, which is fine. Okay, so our low and our medium. Okay, now we can come through here and do the textures. So let's do that. Let's go into material editor and our high. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this was the I believe this was the branch, so we'll do branch. Okay, so we'll do, since this is a tree, we're not going to do a specular, so I'm going to just go with trees normal. And use our normal here. Our diffuse texture, make sure we embed it. Wind, I found the best settings to be 0.1, 0.5, 1.0, and 1.0. Those are your best settings for wind. Otherwise, you're going to get branches that are moving up and down on the tree, or you'll get the base of the tree itself moving. Those are your best bet for wind. Material 53 here. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but I'm going to say it was probably the bark. Okay, no, it was the wood sticks. So let's go wood stick. And that can be default. Same with this, because this should be the bark. Everything else can be set to default. Fir bark. .dds. I could probably get a different bark texture for that, but for now that'll do. And then we got our knots down here. Same thing, that can be left at default and default. Diffuse texture, pine bark knots. Embed, make sure everything is embedded. And if done correctly, if these were linked texture wise, it would have, all of them would have linked, and we wouldn't have to worry about coming back through here and doing them again. This is set to normal. A normal disk. Again, we're going normal. Bed, diffuse, we don't got one. Wind 1. 0.1. 0.5. No. And 1.0. Fir bark. And knots. Now we can come down here and do the same thing to 3. So 3. And this one we can actually, we'll use a, let's use shadow proxy. Wind 0.1, 0.5, 1, and 1. And this is going to be our wood stick. And this is going to be our bark. And this is going to be our pine knots. Okay, so that's basically texturing. I mean, there's really nothing to it. You just got to make sure you're using the right shaders. And I still ain't a pro at them. But I'm getting pretty decent at it to where I know what to use and what not to use. Still need to figure out LOD texture, stuff of that nature, because they do got these here for a reason, and I can't figure out why. Especially if you got your separate LOD models, unless you're supposed to use these on LOD models. I'm not really sure yet. Something I need to look into a little bit more. But then you got your parallax here. This is another thing I'm going to dive into and figure more about. But for now, default. Wait, what was this? Fir branch. Oh, no. We want this left at trees. Normal. Or was this our shadow proxy? No. Okay. So that's the texture aspect. Now, collisions. When it comes to collisions, one that I can tell you is not going to work, one that I have tried, and I've tried many times, is cylinder. Anytime that you use that cylinder collision, GIMS is going to crash every single time. I don't know what it is about that cylinder collision, but GIMS does not like it anymore. But keep in mind, GIMS also has been left hanging for the past 2 years, so there's been no updates to it, nothing of that nature. So we're going to take our collision here. We're going to go ahead and rotate him up. Then we're going to move them here. Going to move them over here. Going to move them up to there. And we're going to stretch them. So what that'll do, anytime that you hit that with a car, a plane, whatever, you're going to get a collision. You won't go right through it. Why does this up here look like that? What the fuck is that? Random whiteness up there. Anybody else seeing that? That looks like a specular. Like one is stuck on specular for whatever reason. Let's double check these. Material wise. And I tell you why it's doing that. Let me go ahead and fix that properly. I'm glad I still got Photoshop up. These normals, I don't know why everybody feels the need to use normals, because Grand Theft Auto really don't use that many normals. They use bumps the most. But I've noticed a lot of people like to use the normal. So for branch normal, we don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to go to 3D. And before you do that, anytime that you make a bump map or anything of that nature, you cannot have the alpha selected or you will crash. So let's go to filter. Nope, 3D. Shit. Hang on a second. I'll get it here shortly. There we go. Filter 3D, generate bump height map. This is what we want. We don't want the blue normal map because then it's going to give us what we got in there. Typically, your default settings are usually pretty good for it. So we'll go ahead and rock that out. Too many channels to export? I don't think so, Bubba. I don't want you to save as a alpha. Let's just save it as a JPEG for a branch. Underscore bump. That's probably what's giving us that specular look up at the top. I don't know if y'all noticed that. But that white right there. And that's probably coming from that normal. Wow, it's not coming from that normal. That's kind of surprising. I'm not sure what. I swear that looks like a specular diffuse. I swear it does. But see, that's trees normal. Trees normal. And trees normal. So I don't understand where it's getting the specular from. Maybe it won't render with specular. I don't know why it's doing that. Because there's no specular attached to it. So let's see. See, I can see it right there too. And what I mean by specular, see how it's shining like that? That's a specular gloss it's got onto it for whatever reason, and it shouldn't. Maybe it won't render with it. We shall see. Alright. So, then you would just simply go to export. After you rename your collision. So in my case, I'm gonna just rename it EWR_first. And I'm gonna tie that collision into the model. Now I'm just gonna export. Then it shouldn't take too long because it's a fairly easy little model. It's not very big. Right. So now you'd come into OpenIV or RPF Explorer, whatever you use. I've heard nothing but good things about RPF Explorer, but I find it a little tedious to have to load CodeWalker up every time I want to use it, when I can just use OpenIV. CodeWalker guys give themselves way too much credit with that RPF Explorer. It's really not all that great. Anyway, fir tree, so that ODR right there, that is not the one. Where is it? Well, that might be it. What time was it? 9:21. Yep, that's it right there. Alright. So we're into our props folder. Let's see here. DLC props. Here we go. Let's go ahead and grab our fir tree. Drag it in. And you can actually see right there where it was. And it actually went down a little bit, so that's good. Size-wise, it went down a little bit. Let me double check this. And as you see here, we got our height 9,360. Our medium, and that's because of the shadow proxy at 4,647. And our low should have been that 2,283. So there they are. Very minimum work when it comes to creating those LODs. So that's good, and you can barely tell the difference, to be honest with you, in the LODs. More information. Let's look at our normals, default. Shaders, normal, shadow proxy, normal. Okay. Shouldn't be too shabby. So there's that. Now, to get it to spawn in game, or to spawn in CodeWalker, you got to get the boundary boxes for it, or what everybody calls BBs. There is a application on 5mods called YTYP Create. That is what you want to use. YTYP Creator, ODR Browser, open. This one is located on my desktop, so we bring in the ODR, BBs, calculate. It'll calculate all your BBs. Close, ODR, import. We got embedded collision, which is the capsule we put up. Vegetation _1 is where this one's gone. We're going to set the flags at right now for 32 because I copy and paste those. 1,000, 2,000 on the LOD. Create, okay, boom. Edit that YTYP. Come here, edit. You copy your BB line. Copy. Close. Here, fir tree. We're going to paste over it because it's a new updated model. We're going to get the flag of 536936448. Copy it. That's probably the best flag to use for trees. Especially if there's any backface culling or anything of that nature going on. That flag will solve that issue. Then we're just going to go into CodeWalker here, so you can see that it does spawn. CodeWalker, load this puppy up. And then we're just going to do enable mods. Enable DLC level. Then let's just do new wide map file. We'll just leave it at wide map, whatever. Then we're going to go to EWR underscore fur underscore tree underscore 1. Or we must have just named the tree. So it don't have that specular tint in game, which is good. And we now more so match the color of 5's vegetation. So it's not as bright and tropical looking as it originally was, which is good. And I can show you another example by what I mean by that with a bush. Let's go to this tree here. So you got that more darker GTA color scheme to it, which is what we're shooting for. You want to kind of match the colors the best you can, and that kind of looks like that it should be. Kind of get a specular look when we're up and underneath it, but maybe that's just from the yellow. But that's how it's done. I can do another example with another bush if y'all would like for color matching, where you could actually see it. And actually, you know what? If you look at this bush underscore 1, see how bright the color is compared to everything else? I don't know if you can really tell with me moving around as much as I am. But see that bright color scheme compared to everything else? I mean, that's kind of what we want to stray away from. We don't want stuff too bright to where it's not matching the color of the world, if that makes any sense. Because if you put this somewhere, you can definitely tell that it don't belong because of how bright it is. See, I can see it from the bottom of the hill, no problem. I mean, it's extremely bright. That's kind of what we want to stray away from. And we want to get it matching their color scheme a little bit better. But that's kind of what that tree looked like. Real bright green. But we got it to match a little bit better, so that works. So that's how that's done. I'll let this upload to YouTube, and I'll post the link as soon as it's done. Sorry for the long tutorial. If you need any more help, any more guides, anything of that nature, just let me know, and we can go from there. Alright guys, appreciate it.